Pero el Mateo se tiene que hacer la pregunta de dónde viene lo que usa. ¿De dónde viene este producto? ¿Quién lo hizo? Se hizo la caña en Vietnam y se destiló en Centroamérica y el vidrio vino de Taiwán y el acero y lo tengo acá en mi bar en Londres. La pregunta es, ¿puede estar mejor?
I grew up thinking that I live in an amazing world, but in an amazing country, that it was not showcased. And my sort of mission was to communicate a little bit of what's going on in this part of the world. And I do that through liquids or transforming solids into something different. I'm Tato Giovannoni, I'm from Argentina. I have a bar in Buenos Aires. I've been a bartender for all my life.
Me llamo Juan Ignacio Gerardi, soy de Argentina. Mi trabajo es conectar y vincular a las personas con la tierra. Y soy amigo de Tato.
We met randomly in the north of Argentina, and Juani was over there linking people with people and terroir and soil. That's what he does in a very amazing way. And we met, we started talking. Half an hour later, he was introducing me to a producer of apples and pears. And 3 days after that, we were receiving those apples and pears in Florería Atlántico en Buenos Aires.
Pero el Mateo se tiene que hacer la pregunta, realmente no puedo hacer una búsqueda de sabor que tenga que ver con respetar a la producción local o con la temporada. ¿Tiene sentido hacer tantos kilómetros? ¿Puedo hacerlo distinto?
I can have a great Manhattan anywhere in the world, but if I can go somewhere and have a drink that's made with these local ingredients, I'm going to learn about the ingredients. I'm going to learn about the people that utilize the ingredients. My name is Chalky Tom. I'm an Indigenous American advocate and the co-founder of Dumersive. The thing about the bar industry is people are always looking for the next best thing. And a bar should be a place to explore. I mean, if you're a bartender, you're already probably pretty nerdy and want to learn more. You don't always have to go on a tour of the world to find interesting things. And as a bartender, all of us change the way that our community decides to interact with cocktails, whether it's being from a small town and changing to a certain vermouth, or finding like a local grower that makes apples and doing something cool with it, or doing it on like a 50 Vest bar stage where you're like, well, we're only going to work with local growers and we're only going to do things from this region right now. As much as everyone wants to travel and be a fancy bartender that goes into the jungle and finds this new thing, there's still so many things in our own backyards that are there to be utilized.
We always start a bar with a mission to learn more about the stuff that we do. And for Asia today, we want to showcase a local ingredients, and in this case, especially wild honey. My name is Nix Anuman. I'm the operator of Asia Today Bar. We're in Chinatown of Bangkok, Thailand. So if you work with honey, everything is different. Basically, if you have different species of bee, they would go for different plants and flowers. And you're like, but you guys are in the same place. And they'll just come out different. Imagine putting two nationality of people in the same kitchen. They're just gonna cook differently. So basically we're tasting like two honeys right now. So this, coming from this like subspecies of stingless. In Thai we call it kongan. And this one, we call it the subspecies called itama, which is from that one. You can tell that like the color is super different. I'm sure like the flavor would be so much different as well. Oh wow. You have like light, slight, like clean, citrus bitter, those kind of vibes. People like super underestimate the flavor of like stingless. So we're trying like another itama, also same species with that one, but basically from a different area. So this one is from the north, but I think this one is from the south. I would say, I wouldn't say a fruit, because I would say a style. I would say it's a clean, sharp profile. Like very light at the beginning, it comes gradually lightens. It's a really clean end. The silver. So you see, the color is super dark. From what I've seen, the way they work, it likes a very fragrant herbs like, what do you call it? For example, like basil, like those kind of style. I taste a lot of like soy, a lot of celery. Like
very umami.
Umami, yeah. So, like, if you look at the history of Thailand, we are actually not a unified country, like from the beginning. So we're basically capturing different kingdoms and turn it into Thailand. So we have different, really distinctive like culture, and each culture has their own biodiversity like to offer. I think the biodiversity should channel through you, like, because you're not using yourself as the center, you're using yourself as a passageway for people to understand more about different stuff at different place and time. It runs through you and it got a little bit of your flavor into it, and that's our style.
¿Hay sabor sin diversidad?
No, no sé. Para mí no.
No lo sé.
I can just walk around my hometown in Cariló with things that were not native from that area, and I can find that biodiversity that was not originally from that area. You know, this exchange of seeds and traveling and human movement around the globe exists since we exist. Who knows now where tomatoes are from? If you ask a random person, they will say they're from Italy, and they're not. And seeds are moving not only by humans, but by birds, by bees, by everything.
Biodiversity is integral to the future of flavor because biodiversity is what sustains everything that's grown in the world. We can take corn for an example. That started as like a simple grass, and because of biodiversity is now in like hundreds of varietals depending on where you are in the Americas. Here are some common ingredients that are part of the food landscape that you probably eat every single day that are indigenous to the Americas. So we're going to start with some berries, some blackberries, blueberries. I also have some pine nuts, some sunflower seeds, some pumpkin seeds. I also have everybody's favorite, chocolate. Pineapples, which everybody associates with Hawaii, but are actually from South America and were traded all up and down the Americas. And chili peppers. So reviewing a lot of these ingredients, you use them every single day in your bars all around the world. And it's important to know where they come from because there's a rich history there. There's the people that cultivated them, and they're still part of our foodways for the indigenous communities today in the Americas.
I believe that humans always work in a hyper-local way. In the past, more than now, because the traveling was not that easy. People used to preserve things that they were not in season anymore, and they eat it through all year round, no? Not long ago, I realized after we finished a menu in Floreria that there was no fresh products in the menu. So what should I say? I didn't do a seasonal menu, or it was a seasonal menu. They were all dry products, mostly from flowers and roots, and from the north and from Patagonia. I say, wow, we're not using any lemons, no limes, no finding those citrics or the acidity in different botanicals. So I like to think that we all need to think in a very open way and not to put ourselves in, this is in season, I need to use this. I mean, if it's in season, use it in season, yes. Those products also transform themselves and they can be used in another way. So I'm on favor of seasonality also, but I think it's bigger than that.
No se descubren las temporadas, sino que creo que se descubre como la escucha.
I think honey industry in Thailand, like, it has always been about imported bees. And we call that species called Apis mellifera. So that's the species that most of the honey producers in Thailand would work with. Actually, but in this country, we have so many more species that you can work with. We have 27 subspecies, and each of them provides different style of honey itself. But if you stick to the supermarket honey, you'll always get that one type of honey that, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but there's so much more that could taste even better, and it helps the community as well. Like if you work with them like straight up. We have a stingless bee, which is one of the species of the bees in Thailand. In Thai, we call this subspecies khon ngan, which is a silver hair, or like you can call it silverback. Okay, so this size of a hive would need around like a year or two to like fill up the whole space. You see, like a pocket like this would have like honey inside. Maybe. This is what we call ititama, and it will just like be triple the size. Normally we don't keep the hive here. I would never thought of bringing a hive to a bar. But it's just the sake of like the educational purpose. Okay, so when you work with local producers, you and your growers or your producers, you basically grow together. It's like flowers and bees. You grow together. You can't be separated. And I think that's when you take out the middleman, you can actually work from people to people. It's more direct, it's more authentic, it's more real. And I think working with that connection will gives you much more meaning to what you do.
A lot of times, like the smaller farmers that do a lot of the interesting things aren't getting enough support, or some of like, especially in the States, some of the indigenous communities that grow certain things or forage certain things, you know, this helps maintain these communities, it helps maintain these farms, it helps maintain seeds that we need for things. Like a lot of different communities around the world have their seed guardians. So if you utilize your program in a way where you work with these smaller farms, you're actually doing better for the future on a bigger level.
Resignificar el rol del pequeño productor, entender que el productor no es solo alguien que da materia prima como una góndola, ¿no? Como un lugar donde uno toma su producto, sino entender que su trabajo es mucho más grande y tiene otras dimensiones. Estamos en la casa de Rolo y Valeria, una familia local que viven en la prepuna jujeña, unos 3.500 metros de altura. Ellos cuidan semillas de papa ancestrales y su trabajo es alimentar la tierra. Así que estamos en un lugar muy ancestral, con mucha cultura y con mucha pasión por el trabajo en la tierra. ¿Y por qué te tomas el trabajo de guardar estas semillas de habas?
Realmente es que son muy escasas. Ya los productores que habían antes ya no lo están haciendo. Estas son semillas madres. Estas no tienen nada de química.
¿Y estas son papas?
Y son papas también, papas que ya se perdieron ahorita. Y ahora nosotros lo tratamos de recuperar. Ya no, nadie lo tiene.
¿Y por qué esta papa es una semilla y no es una papa normal? ¿Cuál es la diferencia?
Bueno, por lo menos acá tenés, ¿ves? Tienen un montón de ojitos. Los ojitos le decimos nosotros los que tienen acá, ¿ves? ¿No como lo ves? Los ojitos, sí. Claro, mientras tengan más ojos, salen más brote de ahí.
Ok.
Salen más brote. Al tener más brote, entonces la planta es más vigorosa, sí, y más plantuda.
O sea, de las papas más sanas, sí, elegís como las semillas, no importa el tamaño.
Sí.
As somebody that grew up in cities, I'm a complete urban Indian, as we call ourselves. I always tell people to first start at their farmers markets. Start with your local farmers. Every major city now has these incredible farmers market, and that's like a really easy, approachable way. Especially like if you're in New York, there's so many incredible apples that are local there. Go learn about apples from the apple guy. He's gonna be really happy to talk about it. It's just reaching out and finding those places. And you have to sometimes go out of your comfort zone because it's just as easy to order a bunch of fruit and things you read about and get frozen preservatives and all sorts of syrups that are pre-made. But there's like a certain beauty to looking to see as like a hub of like your country, what gets sent in there.
For me, it's better to work with 5 producers or 6 small producers that we build a long-term relationship. They already were the land than just saying that, this farmer, I buy the apples from this farm. In this new era that we're forced to change our menus seasonally or every twice a year or some cases every week. So What's the relationship that you build with that producer? None. You buy only for a few months something, and then you move on and you buy from another one, and then you move on. And so I think that's not sustainable also. Every big city is not that big. It's not that far away, like 40 minutes, 1 hour outside of the city. There's producers everywhere if you search for them.
So for me as a person in the city, I think it requires a lot of planning. Like you have to understand what's happening and where. You understand like, okay, this season you have to be somewhere. You won't be able to just stay in the city. Sometimes it requires to go to certain place at certain times and meet certain people to learn more about that communities and that cultures, and hopefully you can add something into your repertoire. Like my duties for this operation is still very like back of the house, day-to-day basis, cleaning, maintenance, working with suppliers or working with producers, farmers, locating new location for bees, honey. It's a salary day, so that's also my duty as well. You don't want to pay late, trust me. In terms of trying to manage your time and your balance between running the bar, operating bar, and trying to go out and look for stuff, I think I'm not doing a great job, and I'm trying to be better at this. We're super off balance, but it's our goal. You have to set a goal, right? I think my only advice is just to travel and just to go, and the rest will figure itself out.
Para saber que uno está trabajando correctamente o en una línea diferente con productores, puede tener en cuenta 4 elementos. Uno es tener siempre una idea de una interconectividad, que todo está conectado, ¿no? Que todo es una perspectiva integral, tener una idea de integralidad donde todo tiene que ver con todo y donde cada pequeño acto es importante.
Everything should be done with the foresight for 7 generations ahead of us. So while we're there, we contribute to making the world better, maintaining the land that we leave to everybody that comes after us.
Después tener idea de la escala. O sea, no todos los productores quieren escalar como uno quiere escalar. Cada producto escala de una manera diferente.
When we work with bee farmers or beekeepers or even honey hunters, we make sure that they would cut certain part of the hive for us to kind of extract or filter the honey out. Because if you cut everything of the hive, that means you basically destroy the hive completely. So you want certain part of the hive, then the hive can move on and basically regrow or increase their population later on.
¿Es importante que me venda el producto o es importante que yo le enseñe también un poco de coctelería a ese productor y que pueda haber un intercambio y que se genere un nuevo mercado, una nueva relación de encuentro entre los dos?
Porque hay veces que puedo venir acá, puedo estar en lo de Rolo,
Sí.
y por ahí no me llevo ni una papa,
Claro.
pero me llevo otra cosa.
También va pasando que el productor empieza a volverse más gastronómico.
Pues no se imaginaba que un producto de él iba a estar en una botella. Por ahí lo podía ver en un plato.
Y ese descubrimiento, ¿no? Como que es empezar un trabajo que no sabes bien qué va a pasar. Y lo cuarto es el tiempo. Creer y pensar en un tiempo abundante. Dejar de pensar en un tiempo escaso. De que no hay tiempo, de que tiene que ser ahora, de que tiene que ser ya. No, no es ahora. Es ahora la acción, pero los resultados llevan tiempo.
You see a rush in every new bartender to produce something that is a big impact. But at the end of the day, I mean, for whom and how?
Está bueno pensarlo de otra manera, ¿no? ¿Y cuál es mi rol? ¿Solo doy tragos o soy parte del cambio? Entonces, si el producto es parte de algo más grande, yo también soy parte de algo más grande y mi trabajo es parte de algo más grande. Salinas Grandes es uno de los salares más grandes del mundo. Es una salina muy antigua, ¿no? Que se fue construyendo durante miles de años, donde viven familias que tienen una relación muy íntima con la sal.
We both believe that Salina is a place that it will showcase and make people understand about labor and value, and the way in many other places in the world those things get lost.
Walter, ¿dónde estamos?
Nosotros estamos ubicados en Salinas Grande, departamento de Tumbayo, la provincia de Jujuy, específicamente en una concesión minera que es la mina Nora, que pertenece a la cooperativa de trabajo minero aborigen. Yo soy el presidente de la cooperativa. Yo a partir de los 14 años ya vine a trabajar las salinas.
Siempre lo mismo, o sea, trabajar las salinas a mano.
A mano, siempre artesanal.
¿Vos crees que las personas reconocen todo lo que cuesta sacar la sal?
Hay personas que reconocen, pero bueno, como siempre, desde siempre la sal ha sido uno de los productos más bajos, digamos. O sea, no tiene mucho valor económico.
No tiene mucho precio.
No tiene mucho precio.
¿Cuántos kilos más o menos sacás por pileta?
Estas piletas se tiran más o menos, son 50 bolsas de 50 kilos, 2.500 kilos. En eso, más o menos, 2 toneladas
Y
y media.
se tarda en todo el proceso un año y medio, digo, entre
Claro,
el pozo.
sí.
¿Cuánto vale, por ejemplo, hoy una tonelada de sal?
Está rondando los 5.000 pesos.
1.000 pesos que
Sí.
serían unos...
O sea, 1.000 kilos por 5.000 pesos.
Sí, serían unos
Sí,
$8.
claro.
$8.
Sí, eso.
O sea, una tonelada de sal,
Sí,
$8.
más o menos sí, es el precio que está rondando.
Impresionante. Cómo el mercado le pone precio a lo que no tiene valor muchas veces, ¿no? Y a lo que tiene valor le pone un precio bajo.
Sí.
Porque sin
sí,
sal no
sí.
puedes hacer nada, ¿o no?
Claro, sin sal no se puede hacer nada.
We know that these pools of 2 tons of salt that it take a lot of time to harvest, it's about $8 for that family, which is nothing. And then we don't know where that salt is going to end, because if it ends in a package of chips, it increases value very highly.
Qué diferente sería que un paquete de papas fritas diga con la sal de Walter.
And I mean, it's far away. Nobody's talking about this. It's not maybe a very interesting material to showcase. So it's difficult for them to increase the value of what they do. If people knew, I'm sure that we all put another value to that.
There has been a shift towards like working with small farms. There has been a shift towards doing foraging and things. And as much as people have been like, well, I'm going to go get this weird herb I heard about in South America and utilize it in my program, there's as many people being like, well, I'm going to go foraging in my backyard and see what there is. But, you know, nothing is that simple. Everything has multiple layers to it. My background is Walker River Paiute from Nevada and Pomo from California, which are 2 indigenous nations, which there's over 576 of in the United States. So sacred ingredients, for us, we have like medicines. And our medicines, a lot of it is things from the earth, like white sage, which is something that people in California have used for years, and it's being poached a lot of the time, where people just come and pick it. And there's been places where, as a child, I used to go with my dad to pick it. There's a certain way to do it. There's a certain offering that you leave. And people just come in, they grab everything, and they don't pick it in a way that it's going to grow back. And then they sell it for profit. And the same thing happens with like Palo Santo. And you know, if it takes 80 years for this tree to grow and fall over and 8 years for it to ripen, it's not something sustainable enough for somebody to put in their drink because it smells interesting and it's really cool and it goes with your weird crystal witch thing that's trendy. Like, I want to change that. I want there to be a response like when people realized that activated charcoal was bad. If someone puts a cocktail up, someone's like, don't do that, that'll counteract birth control. I want there to be, if someone puts up a cocktail with Palo Santo, for someone to be like, that's culturally not okay to do, that's endangered, there's not an ethical way to use this. Palo Santo and white sage, what are my alternatives? So here, we just have some culinary sage. You can get it anywhere, it's grown everywhere. It's not going to be extinct. It's not going to be disrespectful to use. It's not going to be poached. So this is a perfectly good substitute. And for the Palo Santo question, I have an alternative here that was given to me by a Swedish herbalist. And this is a sustainable redwood that you can get in Sweden. It's very similar. It's not contributing to unsustainable practices. And you get pretty much the same taste and smell. So these are 2 alternatives that you have to use that aren't harmful. If you're looking for some answers, again, look back in your own background.
no se trata de una escala convencional, sino de replicar un modelo. O sea, hay que pensar en replicar. Cada lugar tiene su clima, sus productores, su cultura, sus costumbres. Cada lugar va a tener su propio producto. O sea, no va a ser un solo producto en todo el mundo, ¿no? Porque si de pronto se pone de moda la rica rica, no es sustentable que todos los bares del mundo la utilicen. Cada bar va a tener que buscar su rica rica local y su producto local y salir en esa búsqueda, porque eso va a aportar una diversidad en la coctelería y una diversidad en todos los espacios.
You know, for me it's rica rica, for you is chape chape.
En Inglaterra será ruibarbo u otra cosa. Digo, para mí cuando se esteriliza una idea y se cosifica y se separa de su contexto, se empieza a sobreusar. Digo, cuando una idea pierde raíz y pierde trazabilidad, esa idea empieza a ser mal usada, ¿no? Porque empieza a separarse. Entonces de pronto una gran compañía que vende químicos puede decir que hace agricultura regenerativa porque solo toma un concepto. O una grande compañía puede decir que trabaja con productores porque le compró a un productor en un mercado. Entonces, si la idea del producto se hace estéril, creo que cae en el sobreuso. Creo que es posible que cualquier persona la use, ¿no? Porque si un bar trabaja con productos nuevos, pero las relaciones entre todos los que trabajan no son buenas, y las relaciones con los clientes no es buena, y la relación con las personas que llevan la mercadería no es buena humanamente, ¿de qué sirve decir que trabaja con producto, no? Pensar en una escala lineal es un error en este modelo. O sea, el producto nunca tiene que ser más importante que los vínculos.
As things shift forward and as we kind of stick to how things are produced within local communities, it can only make things better. It will not only preserve important ingredients, it'll help maintain them, it helps make them healthier. And with the amount of science and innovation that go into drinks programs, it can only make things better and more interesting and create different flavor profiles that just weren't present before.
You just need to go out and learn and be a glass half full. You just have to be outside and see how things works. The more you absorb, the more you know more about themselves and the more you know about yourself. And that's the beauty of it.